pinch your cheeks, put your tight pants on, and show up.
Am I not when it starts rolling?
I just want you to show up for me. What is that from? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Welcome to Blah, Blah, Blah with Katee Sackhoff. As usual, I'm Katee Sackhoff, and I am joined for this Hindsight episode with my friend, my producer, my co-host.
Almost.
God, I wish I had something funny right now.
Oh, it's all right.
Sloppy seconds.
That's who I am to you, or that's who you were to me? How does that work? What, you got to emphasize that.
I don't know. I was in a rhyming thing. I don't know what happened.
Sloppy seconds rhymes with co-host?
It does. I don't even know. I don't even know what's happening.
Let me try this. Jeff,
I don't
Jeff,
even
you ready?
know.
Jeff, here we go.
Be funny.
Guys, it's Katee Sackhoff. I'm back again. I've done this so many times, so I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Hit that button. What does that do? That subscribes you to the channel. Why? Because I want you to see more of it. And if you don't want to watch it, what happens? You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's amazing.
Let me do you. Hold on.
Oh, am I Al Bundy all of a sudden? That's bullshit. No one does that.
Wait.
Am I Nosferatu all of a sudden?
Where's my phone? Yeah, I like pizza.
Great. You're fucking killing it. You and Rich Little, the two best impressionists in the world. And he's dead.
Listen, there is a reason why I do what I do and I don't do what you do. There's a reason. You tell me where to stand and what to do and what to say. And I can usually do it unless it's in regards to my podcast. That was really good, though. That intro was really good. You forgot to say, if you're listening in your car on Spotify or Apple.
I said that.
Did you?
I just didn't say in the car.
Yeah.
But I brought it up. But I didn't say that it was a Hindsight episode that we were talking about the one and only Jack Osbourne.
It's true. It is. Thank you so much. Yeah. I was also going to add in that if you're listening to us on the toilet, make sure you go front to back. You don't want to get a UTI.
Yes. That was the original title for the show, was Front to Back.
Front to back.
With Katee Sackhoff.
Boys get them too.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack Osbourne, speaking of boys, speaking of men. We have a lot of women on this podcast. I feel like we've just been talking about a bunch of women, and now we're finding
about a boy that grew into a man.
Speaking about a man, you know what's funny? The moment I met Jack, he pulled up in like this huge truck. He has like a big truck, and he's the guy that he shoots guns. He likes to camp. He's very, very in my mind, stereotypical, hoorah dude.
It's so funny though too, because when, his whole family's English. So you think, but when you talk to him, he's got very kind of Southern tendencies and stuff. And where does he live now?
I don't know. I think he's California based.
Is he? Because I feel like if you were like, he lives in North Carolina, I'd be like, that makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It would make sense to me too. Just how much of an outdoorsman he is, right, and how much he loves to get out and go on adventures with his girls. That would make complete sense to me if he lived someplace not in Southern California, or what stereotypically we think of Southern California. There's a lot of places in Southern California, and even Los Angeles, if you head toward the mountains, that get a bit more land to you.
Yeah, and you can tell for sure, and he is certainly gravitated towards that lifestyle, right? And I thought the whole interview was fascinating because he definitely talked about growing up with one of the biggest rock stars of all time. He talked about this stuff.
Osbourne.
Yeah, but it wasn't then in the reality show itself. And he talked a little bit about that, but it wasn't the whole podcast. It was more so about his philosophies in life. And I also really appreciated that he knew going into it in general that not everybody agrees with his points of view and his worldview, and he's not asking you to. And I actually happen to share the same philosophy, especially when it comes to politics, right? We're in a place now with politics that, and it's even movie fandom too, which is bizarre. But if you have a different opinion, you're on the other side. It never used to be like that. It was always like, I don't agree with your opinion. We're all on the same side, but I don't agree with your opinion. Maybe we can work through it. We can talk about it. But he had that thing of like, look, I will probably be on the different side of you on these things, but we're friends and we're going to talk about it in general.
That's, I think, why one of the things that I love so much about Jack, and one of the things that sort of made me feel like this kinship toward him when I first met him. Number one, he was not who I expected him to be when we first met. But we also have different opinions about a few things, not a lot of things, but a few things. And he's not trying to change my mind.
Right.
He's just like, this is my opinion. This is my thing. We can still be friends if we disagree. I think you are so correct that, we live in a time where cancel culture, for the trigger word special is the thing. Is like everyone wants to make that person go away. Yeah. Like it's not that you have a different opinion of me anymore and we're allowed to coexist, and not only coexist but be friends. But you have a different opinion of me, and therefore I don't think you should have any right to tell people that opinion anymore. We should ruin your life. We should, lock you away, and the world should just be the colors of the rainbow that I want it to be.
Right. And I think that comes from all sides of it, for sure, because there are those sides of like, if you have a different opinion on a positive, then you're a negative person. But if you don't share the same negative opinion on me, then you're overly positive, and you're one of the. It's just people throwing rocks at each other socially, physically, whatever it might be, and it's exhausting, right?
It is exhausting.
Yeah,
it's I have a difference of opinion than a lot of people that I hang out with. I have a lot of conservative friends. I consider myself to be incredibly moderate. I also have very liberal feelings about a lot of things as well. I have learned, in my opinion, that if you can sit down and have there's always something you could have a beer over.
Sure.
There's always a common ground.
But you're asking people to do the impossible right now, and that's talk face to face as opposed to gotcha.
It's such an ugly thing. I had somebody DM me. From a different account, I guess, or maybe it was on Twitter. I don't even remember anymore. I blocked him on Instagram, and they reached out to me on a different platform to be like, why'd you block me? And I didn't even respond. But I was like, it says very clearly on my thing that I block trolls and rude people. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you have a different opinion of me, but the moment it crosses into someone being mean, rude, attention seeking on my platform, I block them. Right. Because people say things that they would never say to someone's face.
No.
And that's the thing that bothers me.
It's the biggest problem with social media. It's the biggest problem. There's a lot of very positive, and I've had to teach myself this too. I've always looked at social media as such a negative thing, and for the most part it really is, but there's a lot of positive that comes out from it. There's a lot of things like information that you normally wouldn't be able to get, that even like stuff that Jack and I talked about after the show.
Yeah.
Things that come out that you normally probably wouldn't have gotten 10, 20 years ago because social media wasn't as strong. But there's that same thing of what you're saying, is that people are detached from it to where they can say something. They've seen you on TV. They've heard you talk on a podcast. So now they feel they have the right to go after you and make, go after you however it would personally, physically go after you. And you can't do that because they're hiding behind an icon of Cookie Monster. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's one of those things that is just like a catch-22 on the positives and negatives of social media. Mm-hmm.
Speaking about one of the positive things that can come out of social media, one of the things that Jack talked about was his MS diagnosis. Yes. And, him being a person living with MS and is probably really inspiring to people who may know someone who has MS, may just be more curious about what it is.
He's very open about it. Yeah.
Very open about it. And also what I liked was that he went into detail about like two people's MS diagnoses and what it will look like to them is not the same, you know? Selma, the way that MS presented in Selma Blair is very different than the way that MS presented in Jack. And that is something that social media has done for good, for bad. You know, everyone knows it's at their fingertips now. I'm getting distracted because in my head I'm thinking, you know, one of the biggest risk factors for suicide, for taking your own life, is knowing someone who has taken their own life. Social media has brought that together. You know, you now have everyone in the world can look on social media and know someone who's taken their own life by suicide.
Right.
That puts you at risk for suicide or for taking your own life, excuse me. And that is scary. That is one of the side effects, the negative, scary side effects of social media.
Right.
But now we're talking about a MS diagnosis, a disease that you now know somebody who has MS, and it puts that, maybe that research, maybe that sort of like empathy of somebody else's life and their challenges sort of in your mindset.
Yeah, and I thought that was the stuff that was pretty great, to where the balance of that interview, you could tell, is, as you said, it was like two people kind of having a beer together, just talking about all things life. There were laughs, but there were times where he could talk about the MS stuff, and I thought it was a very important conversation to basically tell people there are different symptoms in different people, and to look at it particularly this way. But the other thing that he talked about too, that I thought, and I love that when he came in, he was like, I'll talk about whatever. He's like, that's why I'm here. And he talked about the how long he's been sober for, and that battle, and what that was like, and how, you know, he had to really look at himself and know that it was time to kind of get himself back on track.
Well, he had a very public sort of, you know, childhood, coming of age with alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, most children get to experiment with drugs and alcohol, hopefully safely, but the ramifications of that are in your past.
Right.
You know, you get to forget about it. That was one thing you did when you were in high school, when you were this. That is, for better or for worse, like in people's minds of him, because it was on television, you know, and to see somebody lean into their sobriety and to sort of like flourish in it is really impressive. So many people can identify with substance abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that between that, talking about how he kind of fought back from that, and then, you know, you listen to the stuff that he's gone through, and it's like he does have this thing about him, just like it rolls off his shoulders type thing. And that's considering with what he's going through, obviously with his body, and the fact that he's still every day, because it's never over if you're recovering. Every day is the fight. Every day is the fight.
Yeah.
So, but to him, you can't really tell, because he just seems very laid back. And then I think, as he said, going into this stuff in the show that he's doing and the podcast he does with the paranormal, and that, I'm sure that opens up just and he said as much, your philosophy on life and the way you look at things, and it changes kind of the way your certain approach on things as well.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that he talked about that he said that was really sort of impressive to me was about his divorce.
Right.
And how he said that, you know, you've had a successful divorce if your children are well adjusted. That's a really great marker for success.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I thought he paid really a respect to his ex-wife, and was just the way he was. We weren't meant to be. We just weren't two people that were supposed to be married, you know. And it was like the way that he did that, and I think that also comes to that philosophy of making sure that it's aimed towards your children, and making sure your children are okay. Because I have a friend back home who is getting divorced, and it's emotional, right? And all this stuff is going on, and I'll just say that there's what happened. I'm not mentioning their names, but his soon to be ex-wife was told the kids all this stuff beforehand, didn't have the conversation together, did all these things. And it's like, that's not, because you're pitting people against each other.
No, that's you trying to get out in front of your ex to win over the crowd.
Right.
That's not
and
positive.
Emotionally you're hurt and you want to
lash out.
Yeah, it's in order for the kids, you got to be together on that, whether you're together or not, or mentally together, or you could hate each other the next day, but in front of the kids, you got to be a unit, whether you are one or not, because they're going to suffer, and that is what Jack was talking about, which I really admired.
Yeah, it's true. It takes a very, very grown ass person to, when you are emotionally hurt and going through trauma, and the cause of that is your children's mother, or vice versa.
Sure.
Not talking about Jack in specific, just using very basic term or generic terms. That you don't let your children see that.
Right. Yeah,
that is not easy.
No, because like I said, the emotion can get a hold of you, and you've got to be able to look at it like, all right, what should I? Sometimes it's about as cliche as it gets, but it's take a breath, take a walk. Because if you act in the moment while the emotion is overtaking you, nothing good comes out of it.
Well, listen, impulsive behavior in an argument, is never the right thing.
Right.
You know, they always say never make big decisions when you're, or life decisions when you're emotionally, in not a great spot.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It's one of the things that my husband and I have always sort of tried to do is that we never want to fight in front of our daughter.
Right.
We never want her to hear us fight. If we do, we don't fight a lot. Sometimes we'll nitpick. And, we're tired. We have a toddler. But it's sort of one of those things where, your child can't see that.
Right.
Your child can't see you guys disagree, because they will learn that they can pit you against each other, because kids are fucking assassins.
Oh. My 6-year-old says, you know what I always say, Dad? I go, she goes, never trust a child.
Oh my God, I love Maisie so much.
She's no joke.
She's so funny.
Yeah, but throwing it back with Jack, though, the other stuff is that where he's open-minded to stuff too. And I'll tell you one of the things, like we've talked about, not to go in great depth with, as I do on my channel where we talk about the UFO stuff on Tuesdays. Don't see, you're part of the stigma, but don't do it. But he brought it up. What he said on the show was, well, the reason why I think, as I was watching the hearings, that it could be a distraction, like, and it's probably, it could be a distraction from one of the parties. And I said to him, let me ask you this question. This is after the conversation we had. I said, the top stories that day for the UFO hearing were Hunter Biden, Trump's hearings.
Still Hunter Biden.
Trump's
Still
hearings. Serial killer Long Island.
Always a serial killer.
Cat in a tree or something.
Always a cat in a fucking tree.
With maybe like 5 minutes on the hearing, 5 minutes, 2 minutes on the hearing, if anything. I said, if anybody was trying to distract from it, wouldn't it have been the lead story? And I said, also, it's about the most bipartisan thing that you've seen so far, where Matt Gaetz and AOC are on the same panel agreeing. And he goes, and this is what I respected about Jack. He goes, it's a very good point that I didn't think of in the moment. And I think I've probably changed my perspective on that, because I didn't think about it that way. And I was like, that goes back to how we opened this, was that you have a back and forth on points and conversation that you have, because he's also very good friends with like Jeremy Corbell, who's like in the thick of this. He was sitting behind.
He's the alien guy, right?
Yeah, he was sitting. He hosts a podcast called Weaponized with George Knapp, who's like the first like UAP reporter, and they were sitting behind David Grush and the two pilots at the Senate hearing. So it shows you about Jack that he probably has very open conversations with Jeremy all the time, because Jeremy is very much so like in the know of all this stuff. So that's the type of thing that I wish people would have more conversations with, of not necessarily always coming to that conclusion of, oh, I didn't see that point. Okay, I'll look at it differently. But I hear what you're saying. I'm still not that's not where I'm at. But I appreciate the point, and let me bring my point. Instead, it's
two of the hardest things for people to do is, number one, admit when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And number two, say they're sorry. It's like the two freaking hardest things, and they go hand in hand in sort of what we're talking about. I have so many differences of opinions with a lot of people, but I don't disrespect their opinion.
Right.
It's
or
just
not
a
want to
different
hang
opinion.
out with them because they have a different opinion.
No, everybody has different life experiences. Yeah. It's somebody's belief in a higher power could exist because they were, challenged with some, medical trauma. Somebody's disbelief in a higher power could come because they were suffered from a medical trauma. Like it's every person comes into these discussions with their own set of life experiences, and those sets of life experiences dictate the way they're going to perceive any given discussion.
Okay.
And you can't throw somebody's beliefs out because you're not them.
Right.
And that's all over the place, So it's, not to say that like if a person is ugly in their beliefs or fights back or is sort of, if a person is doing something wrong in their belief system, that's a very different thing.
100%.
I'm just talking about having that belief.
It's presentation as much as anything else too. In the same way that you can listen to someone who has a different opinion, you can also have an opinion that is damaging. You can also have an opinion that, like you said, that is dangerous. And it's like, it's not necessarily, oh, okay, you think killing people's good. Okay, that's cool. That's clearly not what we're saying. But
it's this fucking guy right now.
Yeah.
On social media. Not to get you guys.
Yeah.
There's like this big joke going around right now that like chiropractors are not doctors.
No, okay.
Like you wouldn't go to a boob guy to get back surgery.
Right.
So like, why are we listening to like Instagram social media doctors on like specialty diagnoses? Like stop.
Because people want everything from their phones now. They want to get it. Oh, well, this guy says everything's good for your back. For you, it's easy. I don't have to go spend because you know why that is though? Because health care is so fucked.
That's true.
That's why.
Well, and it's divisive. It's become politicized.
Right.
It's become bipartisan.
Yeah.
It's become
business.
All
Big
of these
business.
things, and people peddle fear.
Yeah.
And fear sells. And so
fear and hate are
like
the new sex, unfortunately.
God, I wish we could just go back to blowjobs.
From your lips to
Oh my God. You know what I mean though? I wish we could, like, in what world? I was just listening to I was doing research about a guest that we're gonna have on, and the research is gonna give it away, but I was doing research on Kevin Smith. And he was talking about how when Zach and Miri, when Zach and Miri made a porno came out, it almost got an NC-17 rating. And Seth Rogen came out and basically said, it's a really sad day when a movie with people fucking is worse for your kids to see than people watching Saw.
Right.
That a Saw movie of the worst, most vile shit you could see with your eyeballs gets an R, and people fucking gets an NC-17, and you have to go fight the board about it. That's a problem with our society.
It's a problem with America.
It's America.
Yeah,
because it's
not that way in other countries.
No. When
Nudity
a
and all
woman
that
gets shamed for whipping her boob out to feed her baby in public, we've got a societal problem.
Well, I think that's pretty. Again, social media, turn it on. I think that's pretty easy to say. And I don't think most people who even people who are very much big advocates of going on social media and everything will tell you there's a problem with society. So, but either way, hey, it was a fun talk.
It was a fun talk.
Yeah.
Whoop whoop.
We did it again.
It was a great talk.
Yes.
Yeah. I also want to go. What did Jack get in Germany? We were talking about getting stem cells.
Oh, right.
For my hips.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm on board,
You gonna
man.
do it?
I need to talk to Rogan's people, because Rogan has
Seth or Joe?
Joe.
Okay.
Because he's got like an in with like these stem cell people.
Hey, let's go get that camera back on. So I'll tell you what, you guys, you want to support this show, the more people watch Katie's show, the more we can say, hey, let's get Katie on Joe Rogan's show. And then she can get on there, promote the show even more, and then we can have more conversations. She can find out how to meet these doctors.
I can't. I don't know if I want to go to Mexico to get it done, though. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to find some shady U.S. doctor doing it in a back alley.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm kidding. Whatever. But yeah.
Okay.
I wish that would that be the Food and Drug Administration, whatever, the FDA would approve stem cell
something
in our country.
It comes to another moral. It's so funny with the moral conversations. Like the reason why certain things that are approved because of, you'd be like, morally, you think that's a good decision, and then it's like, it's a whole.
Did you know that we as taxpayers and as in the insurance companies put more money into Viagra than they do into any other pharmaceutical drug?
Good.
I'm happy that you think so. You know, women are supposed to literally eat shit and die as we get older. And that our hormones to feel normal are not covered by insurance, but your dick pills can be. Hey, it's just so weird to me.
Gotta keep you guys happy.
It's not keeping us happy. Oh. Y'all are divorcing us and going fucking 25-year-olds.
You got southern as hell right now.
I did. But you know what I mean? It's I understand there's a need for all of it. I get it. Trust me. I am not saying anything about Viagra or anything else. If they want to sponsor us, let's do this shit. Sure, but
exactly.
There's a need for all these drugs. But I think that we've got some big problems with our pharmaceutical company and our lobbyists in this fucking country.
Place for all of it, but it should be priorities. But nonetheless, Jack was awesome to have on. He definitely should come on again. And you did his show.
I did do his show. Yeah. The episode hasn't come out yet as of now. Maybe it will by the time this airs. But yeah. Okay. You guys, this has been great. I'm a little feistier than usual on this episode.
My fault.
It is your fault. Yeah. Let me know if you like it or not. Don't cancel me because we have a great episode next week. So join us Tuesday for next blah, blah, blah with Katee Sackhoff. I'm Katee Sackhoff. This is Tits McGee. Goodbye. Blah, blah, blah. With Katee Sackhoff.